name correct. Aria Pahara.
Aria Pahari.
Yes, today I'm here with Aria Pahari, and we're going to hear her wonderful poetry in a minute. Welcome to the show. Hello, Aria. So good to have you. You are a local poet from Manassas, and I love that. I got to meet you through the poet laureate Kim, and I love your poetry, and it's so moving. So I wanted to have you on today to recite some of your poetry. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. It was so great to meet you and Kim at that event last month. So I am from Manassas. I've lived in Manassas since I was 1 year old.
Wow.
Yes, it's my tried and true home. I am currently a graduate student at the University of Arizona getting my MFA in poetry. So
Nice.
for the last, so for fall 2019 and spring 2020, I was there in Tucson, Arizona, going to school, doing my first year, but then pandemic hit and I came back to Manassas. And honestly, even though I'm not in Arizona anymore and in school in that way, I'm doing everything online. I have had the opportunity since having to move back here to dip into the local poetry scene and feel really connected to poetry. So that's been really fun.
I love that. It's more like the experience living a poetry, right? And then get to experience poetry in a different way when you connect with other poets. It's so powerful. Yes, excellent. So I want us to get into some of your poetry. What poems do you want to start us off with? Please start.
Sure. So the poems I picked today, since I really appreciate that your show is highlighting local poets in the region. So I've tried to pick poems that have a theme of home and connection. Some of them are explicitly about places in Virginia, and some are just about family. So the first one I'm going to read is called Lightning at Alaska House. And I wrote this about an early memory of being in Nepal with where my parents are from with one of my cousins.
Nice.
Lightning at Alaska House. Lightning captures my room like a camera and flashes me back to the house named for each of our initials, the one our driver steers us to after we leave a gathering that, if our parents, aunts, and uncles allowed it, could have spilled into the next morning. My head hits your bony shoulder every time the car hiccups over what in America we call potholes, but here is simply road. The car breaks through puddles when it parks in the driveway as thunder sounds to announce our return. The tree leaves are dark and slick, pelted with rain. Sanomamu pats us on our backs. Get inside. We step down from our wheeled vessel and take each other's hands. Our footfalls leave a trail of pint-sized dents on the doughy lawn. She appears, jagged and awake, before we reach the porch steps. I see our shoes and our clasped hands in the light as if it were morning. Sanomamu insists from behind, go, hurry. Our knobby knees carry us through the doors, where we tell Arjundai about how lightning bowed at our feet.
Ooh, I love it. I love that one. Lightning bowed at our feet. I love that. That was so I love the nature, the way you use nature in that poem. That was so powerful. All right, I'm ready for your next
Thank
one.
you. Yes, thank you for noticing that. Nature
Yes.
is really important to me,
Mhm.
and it comes up a lot in other pieces.
Yeah, I did some pieces with nature too. It's because I'm part of, I guess I call, I did believe in the transcendentalist movement, where nature is like a spiritual thing. And I still believe that nature to be a spiritual thing. Matter of fact, when I'm feeling low or things are not going right, I know that I can go outside, take a walk, see something different, go to nature, go to the river, whatever, and feel better. So nature does have this spiritual quality about it. That's so
Yeah,
powerful. So, yes.
definitely. Um, yeah, so I guess for some more nature and specifically Virginia nature, I'll read a piece that was featured in this really cool DMV magazine called The Vibe Room.
Oh, I never heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're on Instagram, and they accepted this piece that I wrote about going on runs in different areas of
Mm,
Prince William County and the parks and thinking through that sense of place.
sure.
So it's called Run Log. Cavalry Run, Manassas, Virginia, 7:09 p.m. I passed a house with a girl sitting on the front steps, scrolling through her phone. She had hair like mine, unspooling from a bun at the base of her neck. She was the first Asian girl I had seen in this neighborhood, besides me, my sister, and my mother. I have lived here since I was a year old. How could it have been if she had grown up next door? Prince William Parkway Trail, Manassas, Virginia, 5:56 p.m. My phone dropped right from my shorts pocket as I was about to cross the intersection. A lithe, queer woman practiced roller derby, gliding by with softly bent knees. I was a sweaty mist, trying to maintain time. Towards the end of my route, a brown woman clapped silently when she saw me. I hope she took my return expression as a smile and not a grimace. Her gesture powered me to the end point, where I leaned on my car to stretch. The construction site nearby was smattered with grass. Jenny Dean Elementary School, Manassas, Virginia, 8:18 p.m. Mom and I ran as a football practice tussled in the grass. The small black boys' limbs seemed to shrink beneath their padding, but they played on as younger siblings chased each other in circles around parents in lawn chairs. The Latino construction worker my mother always sees walking was also there. He has probably marked the gravel track with hundreds of cumulative laps. His bright work vest doubles as a safety garment for when it gets dark. The evening train ran at its usual time. It whistled past, shooting tiny glows of window light through the trees. Jackson River Scenic Trail Marathon, Covington, Virginia, 10:12 a.m. The Asian marathoner had no idea he was my neon sign guiding me to the finish. His yellow shirt rippled behind him as I chased it through the awning of trees that kept out the sun. Out of all the more experienced runners here, he led me to the proof of what I can attain. Eventually, he sped up and I lost him, but I made it to the end and waited for Dad and Saverna to pick me up. They arrived bearing smiles and fruit. Manassas National Battlefield Park, Virginia, 6:14 p.m. The statue to Confederate General Stonewall Jackson carved out a shadow at sunset. Children climbed on to copper-rusted replica cannons for photographs. Bluebirds arced across open field once covered in wildflowers. Over a century ago, they were covered in blood. Running is my therapy, and here there was civil war. I recall how relief can mean ease or starkness.
I love that. Most of my listeners are not from this local area, because I'm a native New Yorker. But you painted so much of Manassas, because I've lived here, and Manassas is a weird place in a way, because it's close to DC, right? Not far from DC, but then also you have this historic nature about it being the battlefield, right? And so I love that. And I love that line also about how could a sheep growing up next door and I didn't even know, those things that are so important to us that we don't even pay attention to. So I love that. You can do some more poetry for us. It doesn't have to be about this area. So just feel free.
Sure. All right. This one is about being a woman and sometimes feeling a little bit unsafe. This poem was inspired by being at a coffee shop, and as I was leaving the coffee shop, a man followed me and asked me for my name and stuff. So this was inspired by that. Raging Sage. In one of the few cafes open late, I drop a fork. A patron in the corner angles towards the disturbance, now muffled but still churning. I walk to a window seat. I hope the hyper-awareness dissolves as I settle into a writing. But a flex of preparedness courses along my neck as I keep turning to check if you have moved. I sought to avoid such precision. From the corner, you rise to tread worn wooden floorboards. The poem slips from my screen onto the floor. I type nothingness. Closing, 10 p.m. Strides away from my car. You follow. My ventricles stagger drum beats. Fists loosen around the muscle in my chest that throbs. I let her loose. Artery leaks and arcs air with blood, emergent, alert, atavistic, as I swing round to smear your demand with aged, spiced rage.
Oh my God, so powerful. I think we've all been there. I know I have as a woman, where I've been like, okay, I need to watch my back, right? And it is like the poetry slips from the page. It is nothingness, because now you're in this moment of being aware, right? And I think that's something about us writers. We like to get to quiet places by ourselves and write and think and look at strangers and things like that. But often that leads us to being by ourselves, right? Into situations that we may not like. So just ask a couple of questions before you get into poetry. What has been your inspiration for writing? Like, tell me.
Yeah, well, I mentioned nature and sometimes just daily activity. I mean, I run a lot. I really like going to parks, and, even just incidents like what happened at that coffee shop that really, caused me to think about it for a long time. And I just need an outlet. And I think poetry can be that space of possibility, because in the poem I just read, I was able to be angry and vengeful, and to react in the way that I wish I could have, if it was safe and feasible. But So just daily things, and also thinking about my family and ancestry as well. And also friendship, because I feel like friendship doesn't get written about a lot. So I try to do that. And on that note, I really enjoyed the poem that you read at the event last month about the different women in your life. So yeah, this might be a cliche answer, but I just think that inspiration can be anywhere.
Very good. I love that answer. I agree with you. Inspiration is everywhere. And I love the fact that I think that's where I get my inspiration too. It can be from any moment, time something catches my eye and I just write about it. Right. So yeah, perfect. All right. I want to hear a couple more pieces from you. We're ready.
Sure. So this is one that I wrote about having family in a different country and to stay in touch using things like video call and stuff to keep connected. And yeah, I remember when we were really young using, at first to keep in touch with his family, we'd have to use like a calling card and all of that. But then it evolved into being able, when we discovered Skype, it was like, oh my gosh, we can see each other. So yeah, throughout my life, that has kind of built. So this is inspired by that, and it's called Connectivity. Connectivity. 1. No, I encase myself in my duvet. It's okay, the morning croons. She passes the phone to me and settles in another room. I uncocoon. Are you sick? My cousin comments. No, I just woke up. My shoulders retrace the pillow's frame. Pauses rustle each pixel on our faces. The heel of my palm nudges an ache up my hand, so I do not drop the phone into the canyon between my bed and the wall. I cannot dream away what I strain to hold. 2. I flinch at the sight of me in an open box, a swell of cheeks, glasses, nose. I beg the webcam to carve my face into angles they know. Tulichori, Diju, Baini. We begin the usual quest to stumble upon shared vacation time. Our soons staccato up the stairs, even after our cursors hold down the red globe that dims the screen to reveal each face in full.
I love that. Beautiful. So beautiful. I love the way that you put those lines together and the way you capture those moments. It may seem like little miniature moments, but you capture them in such a way that makes them so big, makes them so grand. And I think that's what good poets do. So before, I'm going to have you read 2 more if you don't mind. But before we do that, I'm going to jump in, give you time to gather yourself, which to think of what 2 poems you want to read. I'm going to jump in and read a piece. You were talking about friendship, so I got inspired by this. I wrote a piece when I was, about a waitress that I used to go see. And we got close. She actually moved away. She used to work right there in Manassas, actually. But she moved away. But and I used to go with an old friend actually to this restaurant. And the last time I went to go see her, she was brokenhearted. Like, she was always a happy-go-lucky person. And the last time I saw her, she was like telling me that she had caught her husband with another woman and she was getting a divorce and she was with him for so many years. And because I had gone through a divorce, I remembered that brokenness,
Mm-hmm.
And it just had me write this piece. And her name was Kelly. And shout out to Kelly if you're watching. She's living a great life now.
Oh,
Um,
yay.
yeah, she moved to Georgia on the edge by the water.
Wow.
No, actually Florida. She moved to Florida, but on the edge of Georgia by the
Mhm.
water, and just had a wonderful life. Actually, she said it was the best thing that ever happened to her. So
Wow.
things turned around, and I knew how that feeling felt. So I wrote this about her. It's called Kelly and Me. I couldn't help to think about Kelly when I realized that my sister friend who preached love, light, forgiveness, blackness all in one was everything but her word. We went to see Kelly at the Logan Steakhouse, where she'd always greet us with a smile, remembered our order. In the beginning, it was our favorite spot, close to our jobs, far away from the noise, drama. Kelly was pleasant. We always talked a lot, my sister and me, and I was limping along life, trying to find comfort in a luncheon or a date or a night that didn't remind me that life was about to start again. Publicly, I laughed loud, cried hard when no one was looking, about the pieces that had become broken, lost in the dirt, swept away by the wind. I pretended I wasn't two steps from running into a hole. My sister girl was just fine. I admired what seemed like security, encouragement, commitment, friendship that lasted the test of time, blackness that didn't rub off. Quietly, I went home, three steps to throwing my life away or jumping off something high to see if I could fly. Most times, the pressure became so tight, my pipes began to burst, land on people unintentionally because they didn't know or didn't care that I was just trying to walk on. Take one more step, just one more step. Then I started to repair myself, recognize my part, want to clean up my act, be a part of the world again. And there she was, Kelly, still walking, smiling, except she had lost something. I listened as she told me how her husband of over a decade was caught in an affair, never came back. I went home and prayed for Kelly. I cried for her, for the way the world would disappear to her in the weeks and months ahead. She, the white waitress at Logan's with blonde hair, and I, black college professors with kinky black, had become one. Knowing a pain that defies all life, race, and culture, to kick you right in the gut, scratch you in the eyes, knock out your teeth, having you screaming toothless. We knew what it meant to be around people all day wearing the mask, faking the smile, stepping into a darkness that had no end date or expiration. While I was halfway to my healing, rediscovering my smile, not afraid of selfies anymore, I knew that everyone would offer Kelly condolences, then leave to their own worlds. In the meantime, I wrestled with my decision to love again until love won. I fought my faith to trust God, then man relented to listen to the God who lived inside of me. I heard myself laugh again,
Mhm.
hearty from deep in my belly. The moments began to clear with precision and purpose. I took deep breaths, not sure if I wanted to see Kelly, be reminded of a past so grim. I had just returned from a solo trip to Europe, shaken off the last 10 years of my tears, made final decisions, and was okay with eating at Logan's again, alone. Kelly came over smiling, like the smile had reached her belly, telling me the story of her divorce and travels, free from love's requirement, the lake house in Georgia, now all hers. And she finally found a room of her own. And I knew my prayers were answered. While I was grieving the loss of my sister who shared my hue, who deceived our friendship, I was experiencing the joy that came in knowing Kelly and I were survivors. We were unbreakable now. Our stories were not written in vain or being read over caskets. We had danced with devils, slept with the enemy, and escaped to rediscover life again. Kelly and me.
Oh, wow. Snap, snap, snaps. Oh, wow. That was
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know,
Yeah.
it just reminds me that we can have so many diverse backgrounds. We can go through so many different things, but certain things unite us, right? And we all feel pain and heartache, and and so there's so much more to our humanity and coming together than being torn apart. All
Yeah,
right, so I can't wait to hear your last two pieces.
definitely. Okay. No, I'm about to read. Sorry, it's my mom.
Okay. I love it.
She's like watching from upstairs.
Yes.
All right. So this one is called Fauquier County. And it's about, well, it doesn't explicitly address this, but what inspired this was I grew up in Manassas, but I attended a private K through 12 school over in Fauquier County. And even though Prince William County and Fauquier are, right next to each other on the map.
They are two different counties, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I'm on a borderline of Fauquier County, so I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and it was just kind of a county culture shock a little bit.
Yes.
So this is the short one, but it was inspired by that. Fauquier County. The driveway winds my car, a magnet coaxed. Through my window, acreage, mirage. All that breathes bows to this house, its white garage doors nestled in a row. What stairs did I climb to reach the door? I step inside. The air flinches as if I entered streaked with oil.
Very beautiful. I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It says so much there. It is a different place. So I understand that totally. Fauquier is almost like a country version of Prince William. It's weird. But even the culture of the people are different. The mindset, and is very different. So I like that piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely inspired by, just doing the mundane thing as a school kid of going to a classmate's house. And then very struck by how grand it was. I know that's not something that's unique to, that particular county. I think those differences can really make an impact on you wherever, and especially when you're young.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, okay, glad to know that you can relate to what I was talking about. That's the benefit of being on a local show.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this last one is called Seafarers, and I wrote this from a place of thinking about friendships, and especially friendships that you have starting from when you're quite young or in your formative years as an adolescent, and being really close friends. But then as you grow older, there is a kind of each person's finding their own individuality, but that doesn't mean that you can't still be close. So this one's called Seafarers. Boat deck disintegrates. Our feet twirl a frantic ballet. We adrift in togetherness. Spin stories upon oceans overlaid with epic. Laughter convulses us. We almost sink into sunrise. Remembrance pulls us up, soothes our swim through blue and gray-green. Sharks whirl in tandem below our legs, circling our shipwrecked ruins. We wonder who keeps what from the other. Cadence of exhaustion shifts our breath. Only words we share are wind roughage and hair crusted with brine. After a stretch of moons, our tether, knotted with promise, loosens. I scream tides at you for letting us separate. You spit foam into my face, accusing me of a twin mistake. A shoreline tugs you closer. It is further and more solid than me. I find my body crashing against rock, and before I crest upwards and away, I recognize you in the ridges of the cliff. You are earth holding its shape as I carve home.
Oh, I love that. Ooh. In the ridges of the cliff, you are earth. Yes, holding the shape. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you joined me today. Can you tell our viewers where to find you on social media? If you have a website, where can they get your stuff, your poetry? Please.
Sure. Thank you so much for having
It
me.
was so much fun. Yes.
And yeah, my website is ariapahari.com, and I have my published works there if you want to check them out. So thank you
Yes.
so much again.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna make sure to put your website up there to tag at ariapahari.com. I love your name, and so it's beautiful, your voice, everything. And I want to just thank you for joining our show. We have 2 more poets left in the Poet History Month. One great poet, Dr. Laura Casal, and then we're gonna end it off with Sonia Sanchez at the end of the month. So it's gonna be a wonderful month. Yes, it's been a wonderful month. So I'm so excited. And again, my name is Jean-Baptiste. I cannot wait to see you guys again. Subscribe, like, and share. Thank you, Aria. Have
Thank
a
you,
great day.
Kelly. Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye.